And now, more Utalk. Now,
what's up? It's Utalk. We're going to bring our guest on right now, Dr. Josh.
Hello.
How are you, man? Now, I got to preface our conversation today. I mentioned TikTok. Now, please, we are not going to bash TikTok. We have no intention of bashing TikTok. I've seen some very, very creative videos. And, some great topics. I haven't jumped into the TikTok world yet. I probably should. But please don't run away. The goal is to have some discussion. The goal of having a reel on TikTok is to go viral and, all these other kind of cool things. But we want to focus more in on the school challenges. I think deserve a little bit of discussion. But I digress because I know you, my friend. And when I saw something happen just a couple weeks ago, I'm thinking, okay, is Dr. Josh watching this? And you know what I'm talking about, because I know you are a huge Star Trek fan, which I love it. And I'm just kind of curious, how did you feel about William Shatner, a.k.a. Captain Kirk, actually being beamed up to the final frontier aboard the Blue Origin spacecraft? I mean, I kept thinking, somebody's going to step out and Dr. Josh is going to step in. He needs to be going on this right now.
That would be so amazingly cool. I think my wife would not let me. I remember seeing there was some contest to get aboard one of these as there's many private flights starting up. She's like, no, you're not allowed to do that. But my kids said that they would do it and that they gave me permission. Talk about the vision. One of the things that I appreciate about Star Trek is really casting a positive vision for the future of true technology that can change lives. And while we can look back at the original series that Shatner was in and started us off on this, 55 plus year journey now, we can call it cheesy. And yet it really did lay a foundation for so much.
Oh, absolutely.
And, in what is really a very short amount of time, he, as that actor, gets to go into space at 90.
I know, 90 years old.
And just even technologically, of what is considered safe and all of that, to be able to facilitate that.
Yeah.
How amazing is that?
Oh, I mean, it really is. And to listen to him speak afterwards and that whole concept of, I just want to remember this. I want to hang on to this. And the difference, I liked how he put it, the difference, when you cross from the blue to the black, it's like life and death. And I thought, what an interesting way to put it. But what an opportunity. I don't know if I was given the opportunity, if I would go or not. I'm not a big one on heights. And when I fly, I don't want to fly on the window seat because I feel like I can't get out if I need to get, It's weird. It's okay. I guess I shouldn't.
It kind of connects to many of our conversations, though, of being aware of what works for you and doesn't work for you and acting appropriately. That's not weird. That's a good thing.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm glad that, if nothing else, you're on the show just for that for me. Okay, TikTok. Some of the recent trends in school challenges specifically have taken bad behavior. Let's just call it what it is, bad behavior to new levels. I mean, it's crazy. For example, let's see, September, they've been naming challenges for each month. September was stealing from their school or destroying part of the bathroom. It's like part of, the devious licks, I guess, as it's being called, challenge. But you got to get it all on film because you don't get a lick if you don't complete it and get it on film. October. Now, I don't know who thinks of these things, but October has been slap or smack a teacher. And of course, you get the lick if you get it on film. I mean, is somebody running down the hallway looking for a teacher with their phone on to do a selfie and then bam, bam, and then now November does a major switch because it's not that kind of antisocial behavior, whatever you want to call it. There's probably a better term that you have for it. But November is kiss your friend's girlfriend at school. I mean, that sounds pretty innocent to me, unless
compared to slapping somebody, I don't know. I mean, but
yeah, or breaking bathroom stuff or stealing it, or I mean, it just, and now they've got some coming up in the future months. One of them is mess up the school signs. Okay. Now we're kind of edging back. And then grab some eggs with a Z, which is basically stealing something from the school. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of up and down. And again, please don't, we're not here to rip on and, dog social media, TikTok. I think there's a lot of cool stuff on there. People are having a lot of fun. It's crazy when you see some of this stuff and how it just goes, just bizarrely huge virally.
Sure.
But there's other things that are happening that in a way kind of connect. I want to come back to the why, because there may not be a why, but my mind, I sit there and wonder, but I've been seeing some other stuff happening too. There's a high school in Louisiana. In 2 days, they had 23 students arrested for fighting. Now, there's a whole positive thing to that, but I don't want to digress there. But I think it's brilliant, and I hope that it catches on, not just in the state of Louisiana, but across the country. I think it would be huge. Fast food restaurants are having to make the decision now to shut down for like the 2 hours when school gets out. Shut down their dining room. Because students, now it's not a lot of students, so let's qualify that, but students are going in and they're throwing stuff around. They're being noisy. They're being obnoxious. It's like we're being, something's being tested or, and by the way, those students don't buy anything. So the greater good is, the greater number is suffering for the smaller one, but it still isn't appropriate. And we could go on and on and on. And we don't need to go through that. Does COVID have anything to do with this, Dr. Josh?
I mean, I don't see how COVID couldn't have an influence on just about anything going on right now. We're at 18, 19, who knows? I don't even know how many months.
Yeah, I lost track.
We are. It has impacted all of us, restricted our ability to do a multitude of things, as we have talked about before. At the same time, if you look at these types of pranks, and I'm putting it totally in air quotes because is it really a prank, right? I mean, but that's an eternal question. Messing up a school sign, egging somebody's house, toilet papering a house. I mean, you start going, where is the line of what is appropriate and what is really not acceptable anymore? Mm-hmm. I mean, that kind of thing has existed for a long time. Even to your point of, is this a TikTok issue specifically? Well, we've seen all sorts of other challenges pop up over the years. Right, the laundry detergent drinking not that long ago.
Yeah.
Does it have to be post-COVID, pre-COVID, anything? No. I think COVID does create additional challenges of pent-up need for expression, for connection, for attention. And attention, I don't mean that in a negative way.
Right,
we all need attention.
Yeah.
And there's some level of pranks are partly for attention, right?
Yeah.
Now, I can go down a little bit of a psychological trail too for youth. I mean, our brains aren't fully developed until we're in our early mid-20s, especially around executive functioning, the frontal lobes of our brain. So decision-making, judgment, not fully there. Mm-hmm. Hence why teenagers, for instance, don't always make the best decisions. I mean, biologically, physiologically, there's a limit to what you're capable of making. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on,
I was going to say,
you necessarily make good decisions.
Yeah, seems like that kind of carries on for some people.
There is truth to that.
Yeah,
but there is, the impulsivity. But I'd say, coming back to attention, engagement. Social media is all about engaging people. Mm-hmm. Something that violates our social norms, slapping a teacher, kissing your friend's girlfriend, stealing something, destroying stuff, having a food fight in a restaurant, whatever that may be, that's interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think most of us would say, wow, like how many catching people's bad behaviors on camera. Frankly, a lot of times that's more interesting to watch than something positive and non-dramatic. Go to action.
You're right.
All of that, right? So,
no, you're absolutely right.
I mean, I was thinking about this even in just all of the recent things about the Facebook papers. Number one goal is engagement. I mean, if we talk about the number one driver of social media in general is get people to stay on, watch more, read more, and interact. So comment, like, view, because that translates to ads. How do you do that? Do something shocking. I think that's a big driver of a lot of this. Frankly.
No, I would concur with you because it is that, I mean, it's one thing to want to get attention and I've got to admit, I'm a practical joker, have been for a long time. I mean, I just love doing that. And people know that if they do something to me, I'm going to do it back to them 10 times more, whatever.
Right.
But it's I can't ever remember, maybe only one practical joke that was more destructive, maybe two. Okay, I could be here and think about that. But it's attention. We have been locked up, if you will have it, or restricted. And I know I was talking to, we typically have interns every semester. We have not had any interns this semester. The school we work with is back open. And I was talking to the professor in charge of the interns, and he goes, it's the most bizarre thing. We don't have kids seeking out internships. It's like they're walking around school trying to figure out how to redo this, and they haven't been here for almost 2 years. And I think it's part of it is they want that social element again.
And who doesn't, right? That's
exactly.
To normalize some of this.
Yeah.
But there's better and worse ways to go about that, of course. Too,
yeah, no,
right?
exactly. And having to reel it in a little bit so it's not quite so destructive. And again, we all want to have fun, and we're not here to diss social media or anything else. And I think there's a lot of good. I mean, you look at how people have been able to connect. A lot of causes have been able to put the word out about what they're doing. There's been some fun challenges. There's been some crazy challenges. There's a lot of good in it. So, for the naysayers out there, that's not who we are, what we're all about. We use social media. And like I said, I've watched some just crazy creative stuff. I want to get with those people and say, hey, help me create something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you help me do that?
Yep.
So I can get attention, I can influence whatever it happens to be. And you can't always and you know this much better than me, you can't always put your finger right on a cause. Life is too complicated.
Yeah.
And it's gotten way more complicated with COVID, and we're still dealing with it. I hear these people say, well, we're back to normal. No, that's not even, you're not even in the ballpark to say we're back to normal, and what is, and that's a whole nother conversation. What is normal going to look like? I mean, because what we're going through is not normal. Okay, this something just hit me now. This is happens to be National Anti-Bullying Month. Is there part of this that has to do with bullying?
I think some elements would be, especially when you are acting out against someone else, teacher, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, how is that not bullying in many ways?
Yeah.
We like drawing these fine lines between something is this and it's not that.
Right.
And oftentimes those lines just aren't that clear. I think we go back to this basic idea of what's driving things. Are we trying to, get attention, feel better about ourselves in some ways by putting ourselves in a dominant position over someone else? Even, destroying a school bathroom.
Yeah.
You're kind of putting yourself in a power position over the school. I remember being mad at school a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
But power dynamics like that isn't how you resolve it. But it does feel good a lot of times.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, because you start exercising that power. I mean, now all of a sudden you got power to feel special because you're doing something nobody else is doing, or you're kind of leading what's going on. Power over other people.
Yep.
Power possibly to change your circumstances. You know, maybe you're one who has been shy and somewhat reserved, and you got tired of it. You got tired of not having attention. So now you're going to take those big steps. Maybe there's a better way to do that, you know? And I get that. You want to feel valued, you know? You want to feel like you belong.
And that's where I think it's really helpful, especially in trying to figure out how do we handle these kinds of things, is a thing we've talked about a lot of kind of that mindfulness and self-awareness. Okay, so I have an urge that I want to participate in this. Let's pause a second and go, why is that? What's driving it? Is it we want a lot of engagement and likes on whatever social media platform it may be? Okay, I mean, that's fair, that's reasonable.
Yeah,
I like seeing a lot of likes when I make a post and such.
Sure.
Duh.
Yeah, we all do.
Is there a more positive way of being able to do that? Is it because of what you said of being able to have a sense of agency, of power, of control over my own life? Okay, very legitimate, right?
Sure. Especially
in a pandemic world.
Yeah.
Let's think about what are some constructive ways, especially long term, that can help with. I think those are some of the things we can start thinking through and kind of pausing before we automatically act and assume that this is a wise decision.
Yeah, really, life is about choices. You know, I do in fact, I just did one a week ago, school assemblies, and it's all about choices. And life is a series of choices, and every choice has a consequence. And, you know, I've lost track of how many students will come up to me, high school students even. I mean, it's one thing for middle school students, but high school students coming up going, Russo, I didn't know there were consequences for my choices. It's like, dude, where have you been? You know, I mean, crazy things. I had a couple of guys come up to me at different schools and said, dude, I didn't know my girl could get pregnant having sex one time. And I said, I started to laugh a bit, and I said, dude, how many times do you think it takes? Well, I thought it took a lot more than one. You know, every choice has a consequence. Now, does anger play into any of this at all? Because it seems like as you look as a young adult and you look down the road and you say, this doesn't look good. I mean, there doesn't seem to be an end to this stuff we're going through. For some, there seems to be a sense of hopelessness. So then we become angry and act out on this anger.
It's absolutely possible. It's hard to say what would be true in all circumstances for everybody. Obviously, because every circumstance is slightly different. At the same time, when you're talking about doing destructive things towards a school, repeatedly in a lot of different ways, even to a violent level, it's kind of hard not to assume that there's some level of anger going on somewhere.
Yes.
And it's not that that's not legitimate, right? Again, going into COVID, a lot of us are angry about multiple aspects of this.
Yeah.
Almost just even sometimes an existential anger of why do we have to deal with this? And it's not even directed at a person sometimes or an institution. No. It's just, I'm just annoyed at this. Well, so going back to at the school system and trying to navigate school in the midst of a pandemic. I mean, that's a whole nother can of worms to challenge.
Yeah.
There's legitimate reasons students can be angry there as what we call a primary emotion of legitimately angry. Now, there's also a lot of people who say anger is a secondary emotion, sometimes only a secondary emotion. I personally don't believe that. I think it can be a primary emotion, meaning that's what you're really feeling. But it does quite frequently pop up as a secondary emotion. So you talked about hopelessness. Yeah, that's something. Who likes to feel hopeless?
Yeah.
Or oftentimes that's connected to sadness or fear. I mean, is there a lot of fear in the midst of a pandemic and sadness? I mean, just those two. Yeah, very quickly we can all see, obviously. Well, who wants to feel those things? Probably nobody, by and large.
Yeah, I was going to say probably nobody.
And going back to our earlier points, too, of sadness, fear, even hopelessness, usually makes us feel weak. Those are, and culturally, especially for guys in American culture, those are weak emotions. We are not to be weak ever. You are to be strong. Anger, strong emotion. So I feel scared, and it actually ends up showing up as anger because that's a way to feel more control. And heck, again, I'm going in, I'm making a decision to destroy this bathroom. I'm in control, and look how powerful I am. I'm in control. Superficially. And a lot of these things like that, it's illegal to be destroying property like that and all. Anger seems to be more and more at the core of things. Mismanaged anger. It seems like we have a problem in our culture. I'm thinking it happened recently. Again, a high school student, and apparently when you find out the truth, you can kind of understand it, but you can't really. Goes to school and shoots a couple students. One of them, I think he shot 4 times, and the guy he shot 4 times was a guy who was bullying him. Now, that doesn't excuse it, and again, and maybe that's one of many things. I mean, because we've been touching on a lot of different things on the show today, is being able to change some of these things. Maybe we need to find out how to manage our anger. In a healthy way. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of truth to that. And it also goes to what's underlying that anger. There are times, again, where if somebody's bullying me, I personally think that's one of the times when anger is and can be and appropriate as a primary emotion. I see anger as a boundary has been violated, as the emotional analogy to physical pain. Nobody likes pain by and large.
Right, no.
But it's a really good thing. It means a physical boundary, something is wrong. And it's a warning sign. If you don't have pain, you don't know that something bad is happening in your body that needs to stop. I see anger as functioning the same way. If you are violating a boundary of mine, I get angry. That's a warning. Hey, this needs to stop.
I'm uptight. I don't like this thing.
And that's not bad. Now, how we stop it, shooting somebody, to your point, versus other options, that's an important consideration there. But that core idea, I mean, this is where separating out emotional reactions and thoughts from the behaviors is really, really critical. You also brought up in broader ideas of being able to better cope, as we've talked about before, too.
Yes.
There's been increasing focus on mental health, emotional health and such in the schools, but especially with COVID, a focus on so I never say this right, social emotional learning, which is that sense of what we call emotional intelligence, self-awareness.
Interesting.
That's becoming a bigger priority. I've been on some conversations and committees around that as well recently, and there's been millions and millions of dollars invested in many states actually to be able to target this for students, because we're recognizing education is not just about learning facts. And in my mind, philosophically, education is about being a better person. To your example of consequences.
Yeah.
This is why we have education, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
How do babies get made? That's education. That's facts.
No.
But how do we prevent that? That's emotional intelligence.
Exactly. I love the concept you said a moment ago about boundaries being violated. But the key is the emotional strength maybe and stability. I'm not sure that's the right way to put it. That if you have that strength and stability, you can respond rather than react. Because it seems that there's a lot of reacting.
Yes. When
in a sense we should be pulling back to respond. That's not to deny it doesn't hurt. That's not to deny that you violated my boundaries. That's not to deny I don't like this and you shouldn't be doing it. But the key is a healthier emotional response. I'm glad to hear that there's more dialogue, because it does seem to be a very weak part of our education.
Our educational system wasn't set up originally to deal with that, to be fair.
Yeah. And life has changed so much. Over time, and even just in the last however many months, We've been in the pandemic. And I think another part of this process of finding the balance is especially young adults being able to verbalize what they're going through. That, and you've said this many times in our conversations, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay to share that with somebody, but you've got to have the right person or tribe to share it with.
Sure.
Because otherwise it makes it worse. I know I've been stung as an adult, and I'm a little bit reserved in wanting to share something with somebody, especially if I don't know them, or if I've heard their reputation is something, totally not what I would want who I would want to trust with the pain or the anguish or the anxiety or the depression. And obviously a lot of depression as a result of COVID.
100%. And all of that is part of this idea, I think, of emotional intelligence and making a wise decision. Just because you can share something doesn't mean you should. There are better and worse contexts. There are people who you shouldn't share certain things with.
Yeah.
That's true. 100%. And some of when you're talking about verbalizing, I mean, it even connects back to the drivers of these kinds of challenges and such is, what is it I'm feeling? Do I even know?
I think that's a huge
learned skill. We assume we all know.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't know.
No, that's huge.
Sometimes we don't know.
Yeah, and for some of us, we do something that we probably shouldn't have done because we didn't know why we did it, and we back up and go, yikes. But for others, it's like they still don't know.
Sure.
And I think, again, you look at how much content we're throwing into our minds daily, and constantly being on the screen. And I'm finding myself, and I drive some people nuts, colleagues, I turn my phone off. Where you been? Just needed some time to clear my head. Well, we were trying to get a hold of you. Wonderful. You got a hold of me now. I don't like that. And I'm trying to stop reacting every time I hear something ping on my phone or whatever, and it really is a process. And I want to encourage people that are with us today on the show to take time, find ways to become emotionally strong. Put that caution light in your life that says, as much as I want to share this, I need to share this. I don't need to share everything, and I don't need to share everything with everybody. And being able to manage the social norms in a sense. I mean, it's not normal to be running down the hallway with your phone going or a friend's phone and slapping a teacher. I mean, that's just not normal, and it's not healthy. And again, we're not knocking anybody, but go back to why am I doing this? And there's so many other things we could do to have fun and to make our mark, if you will have it.
Sure.
Even those that are more reserved, those that are, kind of less verbal. There's other ways you can find this. So what's the one, if you could summarize our conversation, is there a one or two takeaways from our discussion today?
I'm thinking probably three at the moment.
Okay.
So I'm getting a little too big there. But I think one theme is back to this self-awareness.
Okay.
What am I feeling? What's driving me? And then being able to make that, what is the wise decision ultimately? That ongoing emotional support, as you were saying, finding positive ways to express what's going on. And then the other part, especially around some of these challenges, is don't engage with them. To our point of this being engagement. Don't watch it. Don't like it. Don't comment on it. Even if it's a comment to say, this is stupid, right? And challenge it. We may be thinking like, hey, we're standing up for good things. But if we go back to how do the algorithms work? How do these things automatically operate? Watches, likes, comments reinforce all of it. So I would actually say not doing it. If we look at like the websites that are clickbait, where they just want you to click on it because they get ad revenue. The number one thing is don't click on it. Don't give them that.
Yeah.
Don't give people that. And finally, I think in some ways what you were just saying too, of take the energy and in some ways creativity that is going behind these not so great decisions and put them towards something even better and more creative. To your point, there is so much cool stuff.
Yeah.
Be even more creative. Try something new and focus on perhaps more of yourself rather than doing something to someone else. Unless it's a positive.
Yeah. Good stuff. Give us those 3 things again real quick.
I'd say emotional intelligence, that's self-awareness.
Yep.
Don't engage with the bad stuff at all. No likes, no views, no comments. And refocus that energy to really be creative. Focus on, if you want to do a prank on yourself rather than on someone else. Unless it's a good one.
I love it.
Surprising somebody with $100 or something like that. That you can do.
Or a good buddy. I mean, I might be able to pull a prank on you or vice versa. So.
And that goes back to a relationship.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you and I, you're right. We tease, but we know where that's coming from.
Yes, absolutely.
And that makes a difference. Slapping a teacher in the middle of the hallway? Not the same thing.
Yeah,
not at all.
No bueno.
And it's not out of love at all.
No, that's for sure. Hey, how can people follow you on social media just to keep up? Because you put some cool stuff up, and I appreciate it.
Well, on Instagram, I am Dr. Josh M, and on Twitter, I am at Dr. Josh.
Dr. Josh M, Instagram, and at Dr. Josh on Twitter. Thank you for taking time. It's always great to be with you. You know, we appreciate you and the wisdom and just being able to tackle some of these things without, I get so tired of seeing people, hearing people thumbs down. Well, no, it's not that simple, and let's dialogue like we have here. Dr. Josh, thank you. We'll see you soon. Bye.
This is Utalk Radio.